Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is the frequent communal riots in India and role of police to stop them. My lesson plan includes why is it in the news, characteristics of communalism in India, the genesis of communal rights, establishment of a secular state in India, impact of communal rights upon our society, role of police to combat communal rights, and finally conclusion. Friends, if you like my channel, please subscribe Ias Academy Indore on YouTube and my Facebook page. So now let us start the proceedings. Why is it in the news? Friends, you might have read in newspapers that communal riots broke out at Delhi in the Jahangirpuri areas, and police is trying to combat the communal flare-up on the eve of Ram Navami, the worship of Lord Ram. We found that states like MP, Rajasthan, Jharkhand, Gujrat, these states witnessed communal riots. And this is a bad omen for us. Now, members of two communities clashed at Delhi's Jahangirpuri area last night after stones were pelted at the Hanuman Jayanti procession. Police arrested 21 people on the basis of the identification of CCTV footage and videos on social medias. FIR was lodged against all those accused who were involved in the communal riots, and heavy police bandobast have been made in those areas which are very much affected by communal riots. A heavy contingent of CRPF was deployed to quell the communal violence in the affected areas of Delhi. So, you see that in our country, there has been a long history of communal flare-ups. And these communal riots were the handiworks of the Britishers who wanted to create division in the composite culture of our country. Because, friends, you know that in 1857 revolt, which is also called the first war of independence, Muslims took part in that revolt in large numbers. Although Hindus also participated, but the Muslims were larger in numbers than Hindus. Now you see that because of the active participation of most of the Muslim zamindars, talukdars, princes in 1857 revolt, the Britishers became very much infuriated, very much angry against Muslim rulers. And so in 1958, the British Parliament took control over the Indian dominion directly in its hand, removed East India Company, and most of the lands of Jamindars, Talukdars, princes and Nawabs were confiscated, and those lands were distributed among peasants. So friends, what you see, that for 25 to 30 years, Britishers very much crushed Muslim princes, Nawabs, Jamindars, Talukdar, Muslim masses, and supported Hindus. But after 1990, they Britishers just changed their stand. Now they just wanted to hobnob with Muslims, Muslim leadership. During the period of 50 years since 1957 revolt, Hindus very much developed economically, educationally, and socially. And so now, after the establishment of Congress in 1885, the Muslim leadership became very much anxious about the dominance of Hindu leadership and intelligentsia class in India. And that's why you see that Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who was the founder of Aligarh University, he just asked Muslim leaders not to join Congress party that was called in 1885. Now, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan wanted Muslims to be in alliance with Britishers. Why? Because he thought that Muslims have become backward, they have no say in the trade and commerce of the country, their educational standard is very much low, and so they wanted to align with the Britishers, and that's why prohibited Muslim leaders from joining Congress party. Although friends, you know that most of the Muslim leaders joined Congress party and took active part in national struggle, freedom struggle. Side effects of socio-religious movement. What were the side effects? Friends, as you know that in the later half of the 19th century, so many social and religious reformers like Swami Vivekananda and earlier Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Rabindranath Tagore, Dayanand Saraswati, all these religious reformers removed most of the abuses from Hindu society. For example, Raja Ram Mohan Rai wanted Hinduism to purify. He believed in monotheism. He completely repudiated the theory of reincarnation. So, the side effect was that our Samaj, which gave clarion call of back to Vedas, but he also started Suddhi movement, whereby those people who were converted to Islam, they should come back to Hinduism. This was called Suddhi movement. And this Suddhi movement very much alarmed Muslim leadership. And Muslim leadership in those times were steeped in superstition, obscurantism, dogmas, because middle class did not develop among Muslims on account of the lack of Western education. So you see that whereas Hindus very much developed, Muslims lagged behind. So now what is he? Economic backwardness crept into Muslim society. This data will show you that how the Muslim Hindu scheduled caste, urban area 40.7%, Hindu 40.7%, scheduled caste 21.8%. Among Muslims, what is he? 49.1%. Now, this data will show you that the percentage of poor among Muslims are in large proportion. You see that presence of communal parties like Akali Dal, like All India Muslim League, which operates in Kerala, AIMIM. The party led by Asuddin, which operates in Telangana, in Hyderabad, and now this party is now spreading its impact as far as Bihar, UP, Maharashtra. So there are so many communal parties that are now operating in India, in electoral politics of India. Again, isolation of Muslims. Friends, as you know that since because of the backwardness, economic backwardness of Muslims, they have developed a kind of ghetto mentality, whereas they want to become isolated with the rest of the mainstream population like Hindus, so that Hindus should not encroach upon their culture, their religion, and that's why they want to remain isolation. Again, another point is poverty among both Hindus and Muslims. Friends, as you know that in our country, the biggest drawback is that still, even after 75 years of our independence, we could not mitigate poverty like China. In China, people living below poverty line is 0.6%. Now in our country, it is around 21%. Irrespective of the caste or religion, both Hindus and Muslims are sufferers. They are not getting employment. 21% of our population are still below the poverty line. So, this breeds communalism, a kind of communalism. supported by political parties. Suspicion between Hindu and Muslim communities. Friends, as you know that Muslims are around 14% of our population and Hindus are around 80% of our population. Christians and other communities also form 6% of our population, and so you see that because of the gap between their educational achievement, the economic development, there is a suspicion between Hindu and Muslim communities in India, and it is clearly manifested in northern India, where Muslims are in large numbers. Friends, you know that before partition, 42% Muslims were part of the government services in UP, that was called United Province. Now, after independence, most of the middle class or service class migrated to Pakistan, with the result that now the percentage of the Muslim in government services in UP is around 2 to 3%. Now, communalization of politics. Friends, you know that ours is a parliamentary form of government. Every year, elections are held in different parts of the country. States and central governments are formed on the basis of elections, and now the Panchayati Raj government and municipal government are also formed on the basis of election. So you see that there are 3 tiers of elections taking place in our country. Regular elections have become a regular feature, excellent feature, silent feature of our democracy. And now democracy has come down to grassroots levels. So what you see that the side effect of this politics is communalization. Why? Friends, you know that in Western countries, since the society has become very much compact, based upon individualistic achievements, economy, social consolidation, so program and policies are very much important in the election of Western European countries. But in our country, society is still to become, society yet to become a consolidated group. There are certain primordial loyalties like religion, caste, creed, color, region, sex. These primordial loyalties are very much exploited by political leaders during election. So you see that religion is very much used and exploited by political leaders. Caste is used in election in order to get maximum vote of that caste. Now you see that because of these primordial loyalties, politics in India has become communalized. Now another point is role of Pakistan. Friends, as you know that one of the objective or aim of our freedom fighters were that once partition would take place, the communal rights will completely end. And the relation between India and Pakistan will be like a relation between the US and Canada. But just after independence, the result was completely opposite. Pakistan invaded Jammu and Kashmir, snatched 1/3 of its parts, and still Pakistan is controlling those areas, and Gilgit and Baltistan also. So you see that Pakistan waged 4 wars against India. It thinks that India is its number one enemy, and moreover, it also wants to be the leader of the Muslims of India, and that's why it wants to interfere in the domestic affairs or politics of India, supporting the cause of Muslims and raising the bogey of false atrocities upon Indian Muslims in different fora of the world and particularly OIC. So you see that role of Pakistan and its fundamental politics further ignited communal flare-up in India since independence. Failure of police. Friends, as you know that there are 2 types of policing. Since I have been in the police department for 32 years, I can say with authority that in most of the cases, it was the failure of police that caused communal rights. And I will discuss it later on. There are 2 types of policing. One is proactive policing. Proactive. And another is reactive policing. So friends, you see that if police department functions on the principles of proactive policing, there is a least chances of the occurrence of communal flare-up in our country. So, growth of fundamentalism among religious community of India. Friends, as you know that in order to get or fetch up maximum votes from particular religious communities, religious leaders exhort their community to vote a particular party. Moreover, they suffer from old thinking, obscurantism, superstitions, believe in old lifestyle. They are completely against new thoughts like democracy, equality, fraternity, liberty, or secularism. These important modern thoughts are very much anathema to these fundamentalist groups. And so they are very much steeped in religious bigotry. And this is one of the reasons for the communal flare-up in our country. Again, inadequate growth in the economy. Friends, as you know, since our independence in 1947 till 1980-85, our country did not witness adequate growth, economic growth. The country grew at the Hindu rate of growth at 3 to 5% annual growth. Similarly, except in 2008 and 2009, India did not witness the annual growth, economic growth of 10% like China, and China grew at 10% for 30 years since 1979 to 2010. But such high growth could not be achieved in our country. Friends, as you know that at present, inflation is around 6.95%. Now, if the growth is not around 7% or 8%, what will be its outcome? The standard of living of people in general will go down. So, on account of the inadequate growth of economy, communal rights breed, and the resultant unemployment among youth, they become the torch bearer of communal flare, and they are being exploited by political parties for their own aim. So you see that these unemployed youth are exploited, inadequate growth in the economy, further work as a breeding ground for communal rights, where different religious communities jostle with one another to snatch maximum resources for themselves. Now see this chart. You see that 79.8% are Hindus in India, 14.2% are Muslims, 2.3% Christians, 1.7% Sikhs, and 2.0% are others or unspecified groups or animist groups. So this is the religious composition of our country. Now friends, what you see? That there is an overt dominance of one religious affiliation, that is, people affiliated to Hinduism. Muslims and their population are increasing. When during partition, they were only not more than 6 to 7% of our total population, because most of the Muslims migrated to Pakistan. Now their population is increasing in our country. And in Pakistan, what you see? That the population of Hindus declined. In 1947, after partition, the population of Hindus in Pakistan was 21%. Now they have been reduced to 3%, 2 to 3%. Now I switch over to another point, that is, what are the special characteristics of communal rights in India? Number one, communal rights are always urban in nature. Friends, as you know that most of the cities in our country witness communal flare up, or those villages which are very much adjacent to cities, they also have communal rights, but by and large, rural areas are completely immune from communal rights in our country. Number one. Number two, communal violence is triggered by secular issues. What are the secular issues? Number one, land disputes. Land disputes, intercaste marriage or interreligious marriage, or eve teasing, or professional rivalries. These are the important secular issues that trigger communal violence in our country, and later on it takes the color of communalism. Otherwise, the basic reason for the communal violence are secular cause. Communal violence is precipitated as part of political strategy. Friends, as you know that I have already told you that since India is still to be integrated, the society is yet to become compact like the countries of Western Europe. So you see that here primordial loyalties like religion, caste play an important role in political mobilization during election period, and that's why political leaders, you see that they play with their religious group to get maximum vote of that religious affiliation, and one of their agenda is to trigger communal violence among different religious groups. Now, communal leaders keep cordial relation with other communities, so animosities are for politics. Friends, you know that all the communal leaders across political spectrum keep cordial relation with one another. Their animosity is only manifested in political field. Like the royal families of Europe, where they intermarry with one another family at personal level, but in politics they are hardcore opponents of one another. So you see that the communal leaders keep a good rapport, personal rapport with other communal leaders across political affiliation. But in politics, they are completely dead against one another. You see that one of the drawbacks of our politics is that there is a lack of ideology. And because of the absence of ideology in politics, it is primordial loyalties like religion and caste and color, region, ethnicity. These loyalties play an important role in our election. And so, these primordial loyalties based politics create communal divide in order to fulfill their own self-interest. Now, Dalits and dominant other backward classes aspire to rise within the Hindu fold, and whenever communal rights take place, it gives them a big opportunity to scale up in the social order. And so you see that after partition or even before partition, when communal rights took place in our country in large numbers in Bihar and particularly area around Patna and Nalanda, what we find that those areas were dominated by Muslim zamindars, nawabs and population. I mean Muslim peasants. Now, with the outbreak of communal violence in those areas and after partition, most of the Muslim zamindars, Muslim peasants left those areas and went to Pakistan, or they were killed. So you see that the areas which were earlier dominated by Muslims now became dominated by Yadavs around Patna district and Kurmis around Nalanda, Bihar Sharif and Rajgir areas. So you see that consecutive rights created a new kind of dominant caste complex in rural areas. Similar situation happened in Andhra Pradesh, where Reddys captured most of the lands earlier occupied by Muslims during Nizam rule. Genesis of communal rights. What are the reasons for the genesis of communal rights in India? Number one, when religion is expressed in politics in exclusive and partisan manner, number one. Number two, when one religion and followers are pitted against another. Number three, when belief of one religion are presented as superior to that another religion. Number four, when one religious community corners power and pelf means wealth, to the exclusion of other communities. A communal mind often leads to quest for political dominance of his own religious community. The minority community desired to form a separate political outfit. Political mobilization on the religious line is another manifestation of communalism. This involves the use of sacred symbols, emotional appeal, fear of another religious community, use of religious leaders. Communal feelings lead to communal rights, violence in our society, and massacres on large scales. India and Pakistan witnessed numerous communal rights before independence and after independence, and these trends are still going on. And in this spree of killings, thousands and thousands of people on either side of borders lost their lives. Now, establishment of a secular state in India. Friends, as you know that our founding fathers were very much aware of the communal flare-ups and communal violence that were raising throughout India. So they adopted secular state instead of a religious state. Friends, you know that in Pakistan it is Islam. In Myanmar it is Buddhism. In Sri Lanka it is Buddhism. In Bangladesh it is Islam. In Bhutan it is Buddhism. that are the state religions. But in our country, we have adopted a secular state. What is the meaning of the secular state? Number one, a state doesn't recognize or give recognition to a particular religion as official religion, like in Pakistan. Our constitution provides to all citizens and individuals the freedom of religion to profess, practice and propagate any religion, or it gives also the right not to follow any religion, become atheist or animist like tribals. Our constitution guarantees right freedom of religion, article 25, 26, 27, 28, whereby everybody is free to profess his own faith, to propagate his own faith. He will not be taxed for the promotion of other religion. If the lands are acquired for public utility from a religious group, that religious group will be adequately compensated. Similarly, under Article 29 and 30, minorities are protected. Their script, their culture are guaranteed to be protected. They can open their educational institution of their choice for the advancement of their community. So India bestowed upon its minorities a large number of protective laws so that they should not feel segregated. They should become part and parcel of our body polity. But our secularism is not a negative secularism. It is a positive secularism. Why? Friends, as you know that our constitution allows the state to take or intervene in matters of religion if they are discriminatory. For example, now triple talaq in Muslim community has been made criminalized. Those Muslim men who will use triple talaq for divorcing their wives, they will be punished according to law. Similarly, our constitution banned untouchability. It legalized widow remarriage against the sanction of Hindu scripture. It legalized intercaste marriage of Hindus against the Hindu scriptures. So you see that state interfered whenever it thought that certain social practices are discriminatory, and a state took affirmative action. Again, secularism is the foundation of our constitution. It is the basic structure of our constitution according to Supreme Court of India. And friends, as you know that what does this mean? It means that even a government of the day passes a bill abrogating secularism enshrined in our constitution by 2/3 majority plus absolute majority in both houses of parliament, this will or this amendment bill will attract the judicial review of Supreme Court, and Supreme Court will strike down, will declare null and void the amendment related to secularism. So what is see that now secularism has become the very foundation of our basic structure of the constitution. So this principle of secularism now cannot be removed from our constitution in spite of the amendment by parliament, because the judicial review of Supreme Court will come into play and will strike down any amendment related to the principle of secularism. So friends, you know that secularism is one of the important features of our constitution. Now I switch over to another point, impact of communal rights. What are the impact? Number one, you see this chart. This chart will show you that whenever there is a communal rights, you see that the foreign direct investment come down. For example, in 2001, you see when the Gujrat communal right took place, you see this, the foreign direct investment dipped, and this graph show you. Similarly, this bar chart will show you that how with the passage of time and with the comparative peace in our country, since 2002 onwards, the foreign direct investment now increasing, and in 2015-16 we see that it has gone up to 3 lakh crore rupees flow of foreign direct investment in 2015-16. So you see that these years are very much years of peace, and that's why foreign direct investments have been very much attracted by our economy, which in turn boosted our GDP growth. Now, because of communal rights, economic growth is affected. Friends, you know that the economic growth can take place only in a situation where the society is peaceful, law and order and public order are very much intact. There is a relatively less labor unrest. So you see that a peaceful environment, a congenial environment is must for the economic growth. And whenever communal rights take place, the most important casualties are economic growth and disruption in the flow of labor, because the flow of labor is diverted from productive works to unproductive works. Destruction of public properties, everybody knows that thousands of people lose their life and crores of property are destroyed in a communal flare-up. I have already told you foreign direct investment is also affected. Voting on communal lines leads to narrow thinking among elected representatives, leaving aside national interest, because then our representatives only work for their own particular community. Also, this becomes a very dangerous trend. Again, it causes hatred among different religious communities. So it acts as a brake upon the consolidation of our society. Now, another point, role of police to combat communal rights. What are the important roles that police has to play? Friends, as you know, that police has been entrusted with the task of maintaining law and order and for investigating crime and for safeguarding VIPs, very important persons. These are the three important works that have been assigned to police force in our country. Now, the executive magistrate should give license to procession only in those areas where there are least chances of a scuffle between Hindu and Muslim. So, before giving license to a procession, executive magistrate or police officer must ascertain whether those areas are inhabited by both Hindu and Muslim communities, where there are temples and mosques in near vicinity. So, under Article 30 of Police Act, executive magistrate and police officer have been entrusted that they should give license only to those processions where there is a least chances of a scuffle between two communities, religious communities like Hindu and Muslims. Wherever there is a large concentration of Hindu and religious community in proximity, magistrate should not give license for promotion to pass through those localities. Number one. Number two, regulation of procession on roads is the primary duty of police. So, under Article 30A of the Police Act, police can stop any procession which violates the condition of a license granted under Article 30 of the Police Act. Police must take drastic action under Article 32 against those who have disobeyed orders under Article 30, 30A and 31 of the Police Act. To arrest the troubleshooters, to disperse rioters congregated at one place, clamping of 144 CRPC, whereby 5 and more persons cannot congregate at one place. This is the clamping of 144 CRPC. Again, to save public property from loot and arson. This should be the primary objective of police officer posted in the affected area, to prevent the spread of rumors and to maintain public order. Again, to identify sensitive zones, common meeting points, unsecured areas, hideouts and shelter places. Friends, you know that there is a beat system in every police station area, and so the beat in charge are very much well versed with the locality of particular beat. They know about the unsecured areas, hideouts, the particular roads that crosses another road, important landmarks. So these areas must be identified, and these are the regular exercise. This is not the one time exercise, but this is the part of these exercises are the parts of policing on continuous basis. A crackdown on rumor mongers and listed gundas. Friends, as you know that there are two types of criminals in police dictionary. Those criminals who are habitual property thieves or looters or dacoits. I mean those who are related with property related cases. These property related criminals are made history sitters with the permission of superintendent of police of particular area. And another kind of criminals are those who are habitual body offenders, like murderers, like rapists, like those who are eve teachers. So body offenders are kept under the category of gundas, and those gundas whose files have been opened with the permission of superintendent of police are called listed gundas. Friends, you know that history sitter and listed gundas, they are regularly checked by SHO, beat in charge, so that police should have advanced knowledge as to what they are doing, what are their activities on the basis of MAMS. M means maintenance, A means associate, M means movement, and S means suspicion. These are the four important elements of checking of a listed gunda or history sitters, whereby police check a particular gunda as to how he leads his life, what are the sources of his livelihood, who are his associates or friends, where are his movements, and in which cases he was called suspects, although there was not sufficient evidence to implicate him and charge him. So these are the four elements to check a particular history sitter or gunda by SHO and his subordinate officer. Now a crackdown on rumor mongers and listed gunda should be taken. A conjointed effort with executive magistrate should be made so that arrested anti-social element do not come out of the jail till the normalization in the area. Regular patrolling parties in the disturbed areas, all history sitter, listed gundas, political active people should be rounded up in order to elicit information from them. Activate intelligence agencies. Friends, as you know that one of the important features of policing is to have an excellent intelligence system, and active intelligence agency gives you advanced information about the criminal activities in those areas. So activate intelligence agencies in order to elicit information, rehabilitation program for victims, and this is a mandatory with the support of the collector and district magistrate, regular meeting of peace committee encompassing all religious groups, a stern warning to all police officers if they are found of dereliction in duties, NSA or stringent laws. Action should be taken under national security laws like NSAs, where you do not get bail for 3 months. Uncontrolled communal violence must be met with efficient use of force by targeting leaders of the crowd. Friends, it has been clearly written or explicitly written in different police manuals that crowd must not be converted into mob. The crowd must be dispersed with sufficient use of force by targeting its leaders. So, once crowd is converted to mob, then it causes maximum casualties. Surveillance upon all those people who were directly or indirectly involved in communal flare-up even after normalization of situation. Domiciliary visits by police day in and day out to all those bad characters who are suspected to have fomented troubles in the disturbed areas. Secret picketing by police and reporting by intelligence agencies to Superintendent of Police, so that SP of particular district must be abreast of the latest development that are going on in underworld. So friends, now I switch over to conclusion. Number 1, communal rights are the most divisive elements in our society. It is dangerous for democratic setup. Number 3, secularism is antidote to communalism or communal rights. More we strengthen our secular fabric, the lesser chance is for the outbreak of communal rights. So we must strengthen our secular fabric. Again, the feeling of secularism must be enhanced by our political leaders. It is the bounden duty of the police to mitigate communal flare-up in its initial phase so that minimum loss to life and property are caused. So friends, the need of the hour is active policing. We must not have reactive policing. Reactive policing means once an incident occurred, then police started its work. No. We must take precautionary measures in advance so that no communal flare-up occur. So friends, now I am winding up my lecture. If you like my lecture, please share and subscribe. This is a free channel. Stay fit. Thank you very much.